Hello, football fans. Welcome back to the Scuffed Football Podcast. This is week 6. Sorry, we're posting a day late. I completely forgot yesterday was Tuesday, so here we are today. This is Noah. I'm Ted. We're here again covering scores, news, fantasy, gambling, the whole damn 9 yards, everything there is to talk about this week. This point last year, we talked a whole lot about strength tests. We were really going to use this week to find out who teams were. They were all going to get competitive games. We were going to learn a whole lot. This year, we may not necessarily have a perfect formula to decide who's better than another team, right? I mean, we've seen a lot of teams lose stupid games, but I think the one thing that we've really learned is what teams are good at and what teams are bad at. And I kind of want to take last week's games and break it down as to what we know about a handful of teams here. I think I have 7 games pulled out. We should probably talk about the teams that are involved. Obvious place to start, I think, is the 49ers and the Cowboys. I think this was the headline game of the week, so I think this is the place we start. 49ers, I think it's pretty cut and dry. Their strengths are everything, and their deficits are nothing. They really don't have any visible downside, like any big place to capitalize. They can do everything on offense. Their defense is super stout. They have depth. They have play calling. They're terrifying. Alternatively, let's break into Dallas just a little bit, because I think there's a whole lot more here to talk about. The things that Dallas does really well, I think they do really well when they do it well. But I think that this game against the 49ers should maybe tamper some expectations for Cowboys fans, where we should start talking about some of their weaknesses. The first and foremost being Dak Prescott, another 3-interception game.
Yeah, I mean, again, their offense, you know, we saw the flash of brilliance in week 1. And then from that point, we haven't really seen the same team. And, you know, obviously overreactions, you know, they're going to the Super Bowl and all that. I'm so happy they got just demolished. There's really no other way around that. Like, they were just, oh God, they were horrible. It was great to take in. Again, their defense is probably their stronger suit. Again, going back to Dak, like, what do you do from that? Like, Dak's had so many of these games before that it's just like piling up and up, and I don't know what their options are.
You know, one of the things that I noticed, particularly with Dallas, is their play calling. So the part that scares me, I guess, is that they don't know how to play from behind because they just give the ball to Dak and tell him to force it. Their offense looks so much better when they get to keep going back to the run, or they can use more creative plays on offense. But once you're down 14-0 to start this game, right? Like, well, all of a sudden Dak's forcing the ball, and that creates more turnovers. Like, they're going to struggle. I think Dallas's offense definitely has the ability to score with just about anybody in the league, but only if they really start with a lead. If they fall behind, man, this team is going to struggle to catch up in any game they play.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to get it all back in one go. So, again, going back down to 14-0 in the first half, like, you still have another half. I mean, I'm glad that they're struggling, don't get me wrong, but I would do things differently. But, you know, it's easier to say that, you know, than to actually do it. So,
yeah, I do think that there's a lot that Dallas has the ability to clean up on. I mean, they're a super talented team, don't get me wrong. Like, I think if they really sit down and try to clean up some of these things that are problematic, and to be honest, like, they also get the benefit of they don't have to play San Francisco again until the playoffs. Like, that's a really big plus. I don't think anyone wants to face the Niners 2 times, you know. I don't want to face 49ers once. All right. The next game I want to get to, let's talk about Thursday night's game. The Bears finally get their win. They beat Washington pretty handedly, I would say. Let's start by breaking down the Bears. I definitely think their strengths are DJ Moore, pretty obviously. And I think to some extent, maybe not the way that we were expecting to, but to some extent, I think Justin Fields is a positive in his ability to extend plays and make something happen in that pocket.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is like the first week that we've seen DJ Moore, you know, explode. He's had games like this before, but not on the Bears. I mean, I was really happy to see them actually like get him more involved. I mean, obviously 230 on 8 receptions and 3 tutties is highlight of your career. For some, you know, like, that is, he did an incredible job. I was actually pretty surprised when I saw the score. But I mean, again, yeah, I think Fields' ability to just run out of the pocket, create an extra few seconds really helps them. Again, obviously, though, whenever we've seen that before, it doesn't turn out as well. So I feel like maybe some of these were just like 50-50 plays that instead of losing, they just won them again because, again, it was the Commanders. I don't know how much stock I put into that win. Like, obviously, they exploded offensively, but it's not like the Commanders were holding teams to, 10 points and below. So
Sure. Like I said, I don't want to put stock in like the Bears are really good now after one win, right? But I do think it's important to highlight that like there are very clearly things that they're good at, I mean, it's not impossible that the Bears get the first overall pick again this year, right? But rather than a couple of years ago where it was like, okay, we need Justin Fields, we need a playmaker, we need something, right? Like I think now they can kind of look at it and go, hey, our offensive line still sucks. Hey, our run game isn't necessarily where we want it to be. Like whether that's a stronger tight end, whether it's a better offensive line, whatever the case may be, if they want to put pieces into defense because they know that they can keep themselves better in games that Justin Fields can take over. I saw Justin Jefferson's name on my notes list, and I couldn't get past any other Justin. For Washington, on the other hand, I do want to talk about some of their struggles, right? I think the obvious places that they're good, much like I talked about when they played against the Eagles, and I watched that game way too intently, their play calling is still really good. I think they design their offense really well, even when it doesn't work. I think that, the quarterback is a question mark for the future, right? But like, I don't think anybody expected them to make a deep run this year. The place that they're obviously struggling is defense, which surprises the hell out of me with some of the names that are there. Like, I feel like they should be able to put something better together, but they even let the Bears run all over them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously some of their names are pretty big, and we've seen flashes, of individual players, having good games, but we haven't seen this defense like key in together. I mean, again, I agree. I think they could definitely be a scary unit, but we just haven't seen that from them. So,
all right. Next, I'm sorry to do it to you, Noah, but I think the next game I got on my list is the Jags and the Bills. I do want to start with the Bills because I do think that they should still be considered a favorite in the AFC. Like they're still a powerhouse team, even with this loss. The obvious places that the Bills are really good, their defense is ridiculously good. Their defense is holding people. They're staying put together. I know that the scoreboard says that they lost, but their defense still played solidly. But like you mentioned before we started recording, maybe injuries take something a little bit away from that.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm going to blame it solely on the fact that Jags had back-to-back games in London. They were acclimated to everything, and we just got in, 3 days before. So that's what I'm going to blame it on. But, no, yeah, I agree. Obviously, we were a little flat-footed in the first quarter. We were very sluggish throughout most of the game, actually, offensively. But defensively, I mean, obviously, we were able to contain them for a little bit, but then again, those injuries kind of just started piling up and up. And I think we were just at our fourth string, cornerbacks were in the game at one point. It was bad to watch. I mean, hopefully we'll be getting some of those guys back, but even with all that, I mean, obviously we're still able to be in that game, despite the offense not producing at the usual that we've expected. So yeah, I'd say props to our defense.
I do want to talk about their other weakness. I'm going to hate the fact that this is coming out of my mouth, but I'm going to defend it before Bills Mafia comes after me. I'm starting to think that Josh Allen is a little bit of a liability. And I want to defend that just a little, right? I think that if the Bills played as well on offense in the first half as they did in the second half, I think they rolled over that game because their defense did play really well. The Jags offense was good, but the Bills defense held it. The Bills just kind of looked inept in the first half. We've also seen at points in time this year that when Josh Allen, much like Dak Prescott, starts forcing the ball, mistakes happen. He can't play hero ball. When the Bills are ahead, they get to blend their offense the way that they want it to. I think they look a whole lot better, but just putting the ball in Josh Allen's hands and saying, please do something, it clearly isn't working over a long term.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Obviously, Josh Allen in interviews, he keeps saying, obviously he wants to continue to be a gunslinger. And as much as I love when he can launch a 60-yard bomb to Stephon Diggs for a touchdown, I feel like, he's also a leader of this team. So I feel like at a certain point, there needs to be a balance maybe. But I think he's mainly on the just fling it and, fuck it, we ball, which I love. I mean, but I just don't want to see Josh Allen become another Jameis Winston. He just says someone's open, and just throws it. I mean, again, if I agree, I think if he cut back on some of those riskier deep balls, we could definitely be in these games. More so, we could have definitely won this game, but yeah, I mean, I can see both sides,
Yeah, I'm not here to call it bad. I'm not saying get rid of the guy, but it's also like, I think sometimes if you took some of the pressure off of them, the Bills look a whole lot more cohesive than they do when it's just, please do something. And then, obviously, let's talk about the Jags. They're up and down. I don't know how good they are as an overall team, but I think that there are very clear strengths here. The first, most obvious being that pass attack. Got a whole lot better from last year. A whole lot more weapons. Lots of places to throw the ball. And when Trevor Lawrence is cooking, boy, he was cooking.
Yeah, I mean, every time I would see a 3rd and 7, I would just see Calvin Ridley gets the first down. And I was just like, oh my God, like we can't just stop. But I mean, again, they have so many offensive weapons, there was always somebody open like that game, I felt like, especially on 3rd downs. But I mean, they were doing really well. Like everything was clicking, receivers were catching everything. Travis Etienne had himself a day. This was, again, we've seen this Jags offense perform like this before, but they're not consistent with it.
Yeah,
it just leads to a lot of questions.
Absolutely. They definitely need to put it together against bigger teams, right? Like, I know they win this week. I know that I said that the Bills are a competitor for the AFC, right? But like, this didn't feel like a confident, decisive win. This didn't feel like the Jags took over. It kind of felt like the Bills just didn't play well enough in the first half to, flip the scoreboard in their favor. Like, I want to see them be consistently good. Even if they match what the Bills or the Dolphins are doing, right? I mean, you don't need to compare yourself to Kansas City to say that you're the best team week over week over week, right? Like, you only got to beat Kansas City in the playoffs once, right? But if you can be consistently well above average, right, instead of losing games you shouldn't, like, I think that really makes this Jags team look a whole lot different. It's just that consistency we're missing.
Yeah.
Consistency, though. Let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're consistent. They're absolutely consistent. But that consistency is low scoring, not exciting, grind it out, defense wins the game for you. TJ Watt might be the best defender that I've ever watched play live. I know that's a really high bar, but like, the Steelers become massively better when he's just on the field. Even if he doesn't participate, they're better. And honestly, their defense was so put together this week to make the Ravens look really, really pedestrian. But obvious weaknesses, my boy Kenny Pickett. Their passing offense is horrible. I know that Steelers fans will like to chalk that up to Matt Canada. I know that guy's an embarrassment and needs to get out of town, but even still, I don't know that all of the pieces are clicking regardless. Their offense looks really, really stagnant.
Yeah, I mean, I watched, I think, just like 10 seconds of this game. No, I was watching Red Zone. But I mean, they barely showed this game. Every time I just watched the Ravens not be able to, get another first down after 3rd down. So yeah, the Steelers defense was incredible. Dude, I hate that because the one thing I was like going into the weekend for, I was like, all right, Lamar Jackson could get a rushing touchdown. That's all he needs. Like that's all he needs. And then he didn't, and it just ruined me, man. But no, I don't know, man.
Yeah, and
Steelers defense is for real.
The Steelers defense is absolutely really, really good. And I guess for the Ravens, right? Like, I want to talk about their lack of generating offense, right? Like, Lamar Jackson is such a weapon that if you put 11 of him on the field, I don't care who your defense is, you're winning every single week, right? Like, he's such a freakish athlete. He's really good at football, but he looked really pedestrian, and I'm not sure if it's because the Steelers defense is that good or the Ravens just aren't building the right things with the pieces that they have. I guess I was just kind of confused watching the Ravens this week.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the Ravens perform pretty well, though. I mean, you go back to last week, they performed really well offensively, and then I feel like it's always against the Steelers, though, that they just fall flat, man. It's like Lamar Jackson can't perform, man. Just against Pittsburgh, though. It's weird, but no, I agree. I think again, consistency.
Absolutely. I'll be interested to see how this division shakes up. It's looking a whole lot closer than I expected it to, especially with Cincinnati turning it back on. Like, Baltimore's less than what I thought they were. Pittsburgh's winning games, even if they're all ugly slop fests. But division's going to be competitive by the end of the year, I think. I'm excited to see the way that the AFC North plays out. Next game I want to get to. All right. I'm going to slander Chiefs fans for a moment, and I'm not apologizing for this one. The positives for the Chiefs, obviously, are Patrick Mahomes, obviously Travis Kelce, no doubt about it. The other thing that really caught my attention this week, the other big positive, the other big consistent piece that they have is refereeing. Most of the time, I'm willing to say that it's a conspiracy, right? It's just... Look, I get the refs are, it seems like the refs are favoriting the Chiefs, right? Okay, whether they are, whether they aren't, the Chiefs still have to be good enough to be put in those positions. Don't get me wrong. However, the Vikings were in this game. They had a drive right at the end. They had the ability to reach the end zone. On the same play, there should have been 3 different 15-yard penalties. Or I guess the pass interference is put the ball at the 1 for the last play of the game. All of them got rescinded. None of them were accurate. The reason that they withheld the flags was not accurate, and one of them didn't even get a flag thrown for it for pulling his helmet off in the end zone. Absolutely ridiculous. We miss all 3.
I mean, again, I think you sent me that video on TikTok where it was the other 2 could be rescinded, but bro still took off his helmet. I don't get it. Last week, obviously, there was no holding on Sauce. I just gonna put that out there. And then this week, man, just the refs want to see the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. That's all I'm gonna say.
I get that the Chiefs are good, right? If the Chiefs were if they were getting all of these calls and still losing football games, nobody would care, obviously. I think it's just the magnitude we put them on, that when calls are going in your favor at that kind of clip, right? Obviously that's a positive for you. I'm not even here to say that refs make the game fair. There's still the chance that the Vikings don't score from the 1. We've watched them suck all year long, right? I'm not even saying they lost if that's the case, right? But we do have to attribute it as a positive for the Chiefs that it's a thing that they're very clearly good at is winning calls, however it is that may happen. The Vikings, all right. Vikings positives, they have a good offense. They do. I know I talked shit that they're not good, that there's the chance they don't score from the 1. I get it. But their offense is really good. Their run game works. They've got a lot of targets on offense. Kirk Cousins is the epitome of consistency. You know exactly what you're getting every single week. Their offense is good. The negatives obviously then become, all season long, the story for the Vikings has been turnovers. The other deficit here is Justin Jefferson going out with an injury. I don't know that I've seen really consistent reporting on how long he's going to be out, but I know it's at least a few weeks. And I think that's going to drag the offense down a little bit. I'm yet to see exactly how much, but trusting Addison to be your top receiver rather than Justin Jefferson obviously makes that offense look a little different.
Yeah, and I mean, trying to make up Justin Jefferson's production is going to be impossible. Maybe we can see Addison, but he's not in the same league as Justin Jefferson. I mean, that's not saying he won't be one day, but just right now, knowing where their careers are, it's very different. Yeah, man, I don't know. I've seen a lot of people calling to just trade Kirk Cousins and just try to get pieces and tank for Caleb Williams. I don't really know what your options are here. I mean, you're 1-4 on the season. You've just lost your franchise, receiver for a foreseeable future. I just don't know what their game plan is. I just don't know what you do from here, right? The Texans hit the lottery by getting CJ Stroud playing so well, and they're still losing football games, right? I don't know that tanking for Caleb Williams makes you an instant competitor next year, right? And in the meantime, what are you going to do that's better than Kirk Cousins? What's available to you that is an upgrade? He's probably to average out his numbers, my guess is he's a top 5 quarterback this year. He's the only guy that's been consistently producing on offense. Turnovers are bad, man. You can't coach the turnovers out of their running game, the deflected balls and fumbles out of their receivers, right? Even Justin Jefferson, who is pretty much consensus one of the best players in the NFL, still fumbled twice against the Eagles.
These aren't Kirk Cousins' fault. I don't know what Caleb Williams is going to do for you. I don't know what it's going to be like to go get 45-year-old Matt Ryan and start him instead. Like, I don't. What kind of upgrade do you want? You just got to coach away the turnovers and consistently put the ball in the end zone. Like, their offense is good.
I mean, we'll have to see more, though.
Man, I don't know what more you want from the offense besides hold on to it. Like, it's all right. Let's move on. Let's get to the Jets and the Broncos. So I know that every sports outlet ever has deafened everyone with Jets talk. You know, before the season, they were Super Bowl favorites or Super Bowl hopefuls at the very least. And then Aaron Rodgers goes out and it's all anyone has to say about the Jets for 2 weeks. Breece Hall is an absolute game changer. The Jets are still competitive. I think that we can pretty definitively say that while they may not be Super Bowl hopefuls anymore, they're competitive. I think that's a positive. Breece Hall very clearly up high on that list of running backs who should get paid more but are never going to get paid because that's the running back position. I know that it's Denver. I know that their defense is bad. I'm not here to say that the Jets are good because they beat the Broncos. Don't get me wrong. I still think the Jets are kind of bad. But I don't think that the Jets are the kind of team that you can absolutely roll over. It's a free win on your schedule. Not quite accurate. I like the Jets to compete.
I mean, again, when we saw Aaron Rodgers go out and down, we did not. I don't think I expected them to even be, 2-3 as they are and be in these games. Again, I mean, maybe a call different and they could be 3-2. They could literally be, same as the Bills, which is, that's disgusting. But I mean, again, yeah, I think it's a big positive that they're able to stay in these games. We're seeing Aaron Rodgers start his rehab, and apparently he's been making really good progress. So, I mean, even if he does come back for the playoffs, like maybe even just a wild card spot could be enough for them to, make a Super Bowl run. But they just got to keep winning these, 50-50 games that they should, so.
Take the games that come to you. Absolutely. Alternatively, the Broncos. Much like I said earlier, the 49ers are good at everything. There's no weaknesses. The Broncos have absolutely nothing positive. There is nothing good. They're bad. I want to give Russell Wilson his credit. I can't even do that because he's not fantastic. Their offense isn't as good as the talent says they should be. Their defense is genuinely worse than if you filled 11 trash cans with water, scattered them across the field. Like, I think those trash cans would outperform the Denver defense. Embarrassingly bad.
They're just dog shit.
Just awful. I can't watch it. Terrible football. The last game I have on my list here is the Eagles and the Rams. So to start with the Rams, I think the positives are their passing game. They have so many weapons. I kept finding that like it wasn't until like the start of the second quarter against the Eagles where Tutu Atwell caught a pass, and I was like, oh my God, he's their third guy. Like, Tutu Atwell could be the top guy. So many teams in this league. He's their third option. I was losing my mind going, how the hell do the Eagles cover all these guys?
I mean, yeah, getting Cooper Kupp back this week, I actually thought it was going to be a better game, closer, but I definitely, their passing game in general, I know Nakua scored, but I was hoping for both of them to score. But yeah, I think, the Rams have the talent. But yeah, we just need to see more from them.
Yeah, and I think that their big weakness, right? Like, I still think that they're competitive, especially in their division, right? But I think the Rams' big question mark is their physicality, right? I mean, their defense was solid. I won't say that it's great, but it could hold their own for as good as the offense is. I think the question marks were like, how do you cover a guy like A.J. Brown, right? He's bigger than you, he's faster than you, he's stronger than you, and they struggled with him all day, versus like Devontae Smith, who had one catch for 6 yards because they could bully him. He's like, sure, he's fast, but like, he doesn't have the physicality.
Yeah.
I think their ability to compete physically, I think, is going to be their struggle through the rest of the season. If their defense can, I don't even want to say strengthen up, but I think that they can find that, like, if they help on this side where, there is a size disadvantage, like, I really think that's game changing for the Rams this year. Eagles, alternatively, the obvious strength is the offense. Play calling's good. The running game is very clearly working because Swift is a madman. Noah's been telling you for 2 years now. And the passing game is really good. Somebody's always open. Jalen Hurts, I would argue this was his best looking performance in about the past season. Like he looked really, really good. I think the liabilities for the Eagles are their pass defense, which is not something that going into the season I ever anticipated saying. They really struggle to find a slot corner. They're not doing well against any three receiver sets. Their pass rush is not necessarily getting to the quarterback consistently. I know they had a couple of sacks, but there were also times that Stafford had like 18 seconds in the pocket. Like he just had forever back there. The pass defense could put them in a whole lot of danger if they get up against a team like the Chiefs or the Niners. Honestly, even the Cowboys, I think that could be scary with the way that their pass game sometimes works.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really seen a lot of paid attention to the Eagles defense. But I mean, I think in general, there's still obviously things they need to work on. And we've talked about that. They haven't been clicking on all cylinders. I think, if they get it all together, they could be right there with the Niners. But for right now, I think they still got a little bit to work on before they can level with the Niners. So
absolutely. Any other games you feel like I'm missing? Anybody else we want to talk about? I mean, I'll do the Patriots fans the favor of not talking about them this week. Colts and Titans was kind of boring. Any games you feel like I'm missing?
I mean, I guess, Bengals got back on track, but that's basically it. It's just 1 week so far, so we'll see.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, Joe Burrow was back in form. T. Higgins was open literally all day. Or not T. Was it Jamar Chase was open all day?
Yeah,
I think he caught
Chase,
two. They got so many damn receivers. How do they not be good? But yeah, no, I mean, I think the Bengals looked really good. I just need to see that continue to perform. I think they go into a bye week this week. Next week they get Seattle this week, and then their bye week. So, but yeah, happy to see Joe Burrow performing. I'm gonna root for that dude forever. All right, I guess that brings us up to fantasy. DJ Moore owners, congrats on winning your week. I don't need to look at any of the rest of your scores. Congrats on winning. Anybody else that you saw this week maybe underperform? Anything that surprised you?
I don't know. I mean, I was just watching. So one of my friends had DJ Moore and Justin Fields. Dude, he had like 90 points just at the end of Thursday night. I was like, what the hell, dude? The only thing I would say for fantasy is obviously there's some injuries coming. Some people are coming back. So just look out for fillers.
Absolutely. I also want to give my shout outs to DeAndre Hopkins. I know he'd underperformed for 4 weeks. I'll blame Ryan Tannehill, but man had himself a week this week, even though they lost to the Colts. Kind of confusing, but he had himself a day. There's still gas in the tank after all. That brings us to gambling. Last week was our first real down week. Noah still went 7-7. I went 6-8. That brings Noah to 33-28-1, and I'm just one game better at 34-27-1. Doing much better this year than last year, I'll be honest with you. All right, for this week, lines are provided by FanDuel as of Wednesday. They are subject to change by game time. Please gamble responsibly. Remember, we're not providing gambling advice, solely providing our picks. If you or a loved one has a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Let's start with Thursday night's game. I'm just going to warn you, I'm mad at all of these spreads. Might start yelling. Turn the volume down on Spotify. That's what I'm going to warn you. First game we got is Denver, Kansas City. Chiefs are 10.5 favorites at home.
I'm just going to go Chiefs. Got to.
Yeah, I'm with you. This feels like one of the very few spreads I can be confident in because Denver's awful. Kansas City, like they're just winners. All right, Baltimore, Tennessee. Ravens are 4-point favorites on the road. Tennessee's defense is decent. They're not Pittsburgh, but they're decent. Baltimore didn't look like they were clicking, so everything tells me I should take Tennessee in the points. But I'm still just going to go blindly the fact that I still think Baltimore's the best team in their division, so I feel like I'm forced into picking the Bengals.
You mean the Ravens?
Yeah, I'm looking at the letter B. I can't fucking read today, you know? There's only beer number 2 and I'm fucking drunk. Sue me.
Sorry. Yeah, I'll just fade you. I'll go Titans, but I believe, and hopefully for my fantasy team, that the Ravens pop off. So.
Yeah. All right, I got San Francisco and Cleveland. The Niners are only 6.5 favorites on the road. That's a free one.
I think that's too little, man. Like,
that's a free one. I'd take them by 10.
yeah.
I got Washington and Atlanta. Falcons are 2.5 favorites at home. I think Atlanta's been playing good football under the radar. I know Washington has a solid enough offense, but I think their defense is suspect enough to me that I'm going to take Washington. Or I'm going to take Atlanta over Washington. Skipping words now.
I don't know. We've seen the Commanders bounce back when they need to be, so I'll go Commanders here.
All right. Fuck big spreads. I've got Carolina, Miami. Dolphins are 13.5 favorites at home. I hate this so goddamn much. I'm going to let you pick. I'm going to fade you. I don't care which one you're taking. I'm going to fade you.
Well, I have a reputation to uphold, so Dolphins.
Yeah, I think I can feel okay about Carolina and 13 points. Like, I know they're going to lose this game, but I hope that they can keep it within 2 scores. Like, all right, I have Minnesota, Chicago. Vikings are 2.5 favorites on the road. I watched Chicago click. Minnesota's defense still scares me. I think I'm going to take Chicago and the points here.
Yeah, no Jay Jettas. I'm going to go Bears here as well.
All right, I've got the Colts and the Jags. Jacksonville is 4.5 favorites at home. I just don't know what to do with the Colts.
Yeah, me either.
Jags aren't consistent, but Indy's like they're still winning. I don't feel great about it. You know what? I'm buying into Minshew Mania, dude. I'm taking Indy.
All right, I'll stick out with Jags. No worries.
All right, I got the Saints at the Texans. Saints are 1.5 favorites on the road. I think I'll take Houston. I'll buy into the CJ Stroud hype. I know that the Saints won a really big game this week, but I don't know. I still just don't trust him, I guess. Like, at least Stroud's been consistent even when they're not winning.
I'll go Saints just to fade you.
All right. I like this. The competition. I got Seahawks, Bengals. Bengals are 3-point favorites at home.
I'm actually going to go Seahawks here. I think I don't think that's they can keep up that level of performance again this week. I'm going to go Seahawks.
I'll take Cincy. I think they finally started to click. Like, their big question mark for me was Burrow's health, and if he's healthy enough to put that kind of performance together, like, it's hard for me not to take him with a 3-point spread. All right, I got Patriots, Raiders. The Raiders are 3-point favorites at home.
Yeah, Raiders all the way.
Yeah, no, Mac Jones needs to be sitting on a bench somewhere looking over a playbook again. I'm absolutely taking Vegas. All right, I got Lions at Tampa Bay. Lions are 3-point favorites on the road.
I'm still going to go with Lions. I believe that's a little too little, but... Yeah.
I feel like whatever I pick, I'm going to lose. Like genuinely, like, Tampa's looked good. They're coming off a bye week. They're rested. Like, Tampa's been playing good football, but Detroit's offense is really explosive. I think I'm just going to take Detroit with you because I think they're the better team, but I feel like no matter where I would put money, I would lose it. All right, I got Arizona at the Rams. Los Angeles is 7-point favorites at home.
I don't know, man. I feel like 7's too big.
7's a weird number, man. I trust the Rams to be better, but then I get to that -7 and go, ugh.
Yeah.
I'll take the Rams. I think they played good football. I think Cooper Kupp coming back helps a lot. 7 feels bad, but yeah, I'll take the Rams.
I don't know. SoFi. It's the Cardinals. I'll go Rams here too, but I don't feel good about that big spread.
All right, I got Eagles, Jets. Eagles are 7-point favorites on the road. I said it before the podcast. I'm sticking to it. I'm not even going to pretend I'm thinking about it. I'm going to take the Eagles, but I wouldn't necessarily be surprised to see the Jets cover here.
Yeah, I'm actually going to take the Jets. I know the Eagles are the better team, but Jets got a pretty scary secondary, so we'll see.
My least favorite spread of this week, I got Giants at the Bills. Bills are 14-point favorites. I hate big spreads. You got a reputation, and it's the Bills. I don't even need to ask you. I'm also going to take the Bills, but boy, do I hate picking minus 14. Like, that's a 14-point handicap 3 days before kickoff. I hate it. And then I've got Dallas at the Chargers. Dallas is only a 2.5 favorite on the road.
I think coming off the bye, getting everyone mainly healthy, I'm going to go Chargers here, actually.
I think I'm with you. I feel like I'm going to lose regardless of what I pick because this feels like the week that Dallas would turn it on. But Chargers were playing pretty decent football before the bye. Then they're well rested. They're at home in a primetime game. Like, all they got to do is take a lead, and then you're getting a free turnover from Dak Prescott. So the Chargers score first, then I'll put the money on it. But for the time being, I'll take the Chargers, but I don't know. Again, either way, I feel like I'm losing. So, all right. I think, unless we got anything else, it's going to wrap us up for this week. Yeah, that about does it. So, no strength test this year. Just, we know their strengths and weaknesses. Little different, but, you can chalk it up. Week 5, week 6, and in that range, dude, we're getting goofy every year. As always, thank you for watching. We will see you guys here next week. Have a good one.